Uh-oh, I can't hear it. Can you guys hear me? Well, I mean, I'm playing the music in my head, you know, but so you're there, but we don't hear you. That's okay. Dude, guys, this is a new one too. I like this. All right, that should help. I'm starting to miss my blonde hair too, guys. I am missing it. Just so expensive to maintain. All right, guys, welcome to Lessons Learned. I am Silly Lily. We have two amazing guests today. First, couple rules I want to go over. Being a featured show, watch your language. And this hour especially, and don't get me wrong, I'm kind of the same way all the time, but especially for this 1 hour, anything negative you say, you will be immediately removed from my stream. You are allowed to ask questions. However, during this 1 hour, during the featured shows, one of our rules is we are kind of treated like a podcast, right? When my guests especially are in the box, my attention is on them. So much so, actually, when I first started the show, guys, I would turn my comments off because it was so hard for me not to interact with the comments while the guest was in the box. But now I can manage both. So, guys, no featured show host is ignoring you. We're just trying to follow the rules. All right. So come back at 11 and then we can have some actual interaction. Be kind, be respectful. We are all adults here, and there's no reason that anybody needs to act any other way. I have zero patience and zero tolerance for the BS. I'm too old. My kids give me a big enough headache. I don't need y'all's headache too. You feel me? And then the other thing that gets me is the gifts. Like right now, I'm supposed to pretend like Bob didn't just send, I think that was 69 red envelopes, but he did. So I want to say thanks, Bob. I'm not supposed to. Now, even if Bob was to send me a dragon, I have to keep talking like I am now and pretend like that didn't just happen. However, I don't think I have the ability to do that. So, hello, everybody. Welcome. Again, I am Silly Lily, and this is Lessons Learned. We're going to do the Q and Q, and then we'll get Peg Leg in the box. Yeah. All right. So, my quote is, the indispensable first step to getting the things you want out of life is this: decide what you want. What is one thing you want out of life in the next year? I want a better job. I want a house, but I don't think that's going to be for a couple years. I want to say this year, but I'm thinking that I need a better job. I need a job where I feel appreciated and respected, you know, because it's hard. It's hard to work for somebody and constantly put in all of your effort to do your best, and people who don't do anything, or maybe they're constantly late, constantly getting complaints, but yet they're getting better shifts, better sections, better, you know what I mean? So I want to be somewhere where I feel more appreciated. And you know, the other thing too that I think I realized as an adult that I hated when I was younger. I still don't like being told what to do, you guys. I like being my own boss. However, when I can't be my own boss, I need to work for a boss that has his SHIT together. Because when you have one boss that runs everybody at different rules and by different standards and at different expectations, it becomes a very hostile work environment really quickly. And then you lose the good employees pretty quickly, you know, or at least they stop trying as hard, right? They start putting in about as much effort as everybody else. But then what happens when the good worker starts acting the same as the bad worker? What happens to that good worker? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess? They start getting reprimanded for acting the same way as somebody who is supposed to be maybe, let's say, a team leader or something, right? So you're only as strong as your weakest link in a business. And when your management's one of your weakest links, it's really hard to go to work happy. It really is. But if you're just tuning in, I read a quote that says the indispensable first step to getting the things you want out of life is this: decide what you want. And then the question was, what is one thing you want out of life in the next year? And then I said, I want a new job. In the next 5 years, I'm going to have a home and I will be remodeling it. And we will be sitting here on stream and you guys will be watching me completely redo an entire house. And it's going to be amazing. That's all right. It's all right, Jay. Oh, I put too much. Anybody ever put too much sugar in their tea? I feel like I'm drinking sweet tea instead of green tea. No. I roll. There it is. All right, so let's go ahead. We're gonna get our first guest in the box. Guys, during my stream, one of the rules I set up, because there's a few bad eggs out there, is if I don't know you, I'm not going to let you in my guest box. If ever, which I don't often, want to talk to strangers face to face, I will put up my date box for a chance for you to hop in. But because there's been a few inappropriate folks that got in my guest box and did some extremely inappropriate things, I no longer let people I don't know in my guest box. I'm not getting banned or in trouble because y'all nasty. Y'all nasty. You feel me? All right. Are we ready? Mr. Pegleg? It is nice to meet you. You ready to hop in the box, love? All right, let's go.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Okay, tired.
I feel the tired part totally.
Well, I haven't been to bed yet.
Oh, my Lanta, what made you stay up?
Your show.
Aw, well, thank you.
Normally I'm going to bed at 3:00, which is like 4 hours ago for me.
Okay.
Because it's 7 a.m. here.
West Coast?
Yep, California.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm over on the East Coast, so
yeah,
it's 10:15 for me. All right, well, thank you for staying up for us, and thank you for being willing to be on the show.
My pleasure.
I guess let's go ahead and let these guys know what we're going to be talking about and what made you pick that topic.
I couldn't think of anything, so I picked my field training from the Marine Corps.
Nice. Yeah. So I don't have military experience, so I may have odd questions for you or whatnot, but it's not it is, of course, I have friends who've been in the military and I've heard brief stories here and there, but I guess I don't really know so much all of what you guys have gone through. So I definitely was like, ooh, this is a nice one. I'm going to learn a lot today.
Yes. Well, basically, what they teach us how to do for our field training is maneuvering, you know, getting from point A to point B without, watching for traps or booby traps, basically, doing it safely, watching out for suspicious activity, for enemies, and that can be converted into civilian world.
Yeah.
Nowadays, because you always got to be suspicious of how people are acting, watch their movements. If somebody seems like they're acting a little odd, you want to keep a special eye out on them because, it could just be they're having a bad day or it could be they're going to be doing something bad.
Right. So what made you join the military, if you don't mind my asking?
My dad was in the Air Force for 28 years, so I knew I was going to join one of the branches.
Nice. I like that. I, like I stated earlier in the show, have never really liked people telling me what to do. So for me, military was terrifying because they literally like you can't decide. Like I mean, I know that I'm sure a lot of people know, but I don't think everybody's aware. Like once you become in the branch of the Marines or the Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force, any of it, you don't pick and choose what happens in your life. If you get an email or a phone call, it says you're going here this day at this time, that's exactly what you have to do. Otherwise, you can get in a lot of trouble for not following through with those orders.
Definitely, yes. That is so true. And here's the biggest thing that most people don't know. That most people, when they join the military, they don't have any tattoos. But when they come out of the military, they'll have a bunch of tattoos. And we can actually get in trouble for getting tattoos while in the military.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know you could get in trouble for it.
Yep, because by getting a tattoo while in the military, once you join the military, you are no longer your own person. You are property of the U.S. government. And by getting a tattoo, you are defacing government property. I mean, they don't really push it, but they could if they wanted to.
Right. That's crazy because I can honestly say that I've sat side by side with a handful of active military folks while we got tattoos, But it's kind of funny that's actually a rule. But so what do you think, like when you first entered the military, and I guess you probably had a little bit of like a more understanding because your father, you said, was in the Air Force, but what was it like when you went off into boot camp and like your first couple days and like what how did you adjust?
Well, we didn't sleep for the first couple of days because in the Marine Corps, it's like the objective there is they break you down to absolutely nothing. They want to wipe out everything you ever learned in your whole entire life and then rebuild you into a Marine. I mean, everything we do is they're teaching us, so it becomes second nature to us.
Yeah.
Like when they have us lace our shoes, it's always left over right. When you're sitting on the ground, we have to sit Indian style and it's left over right. Walking around and going to get something, getting a glass and to get something to drink in the chow hall, we have to hold your glass at the bottom and have your hand over the top.
Okay.
That's how you have to carry your cup to go get something to drink. Once you got your drink and you're carrying, if somebody gets in your way, you have to let people know live grenade. And it's like, okay, why is it called a live grenade? Well, when we go to learn how to throw a grenade, first thing you're doing is you're holding it with both hands right here at your chest, similar to this. So and when you pull the pin, You pull the pin out and this arm comes back that you're going to throw it with.
It's crazy, but it's not crazy to think how, like, because I know there's things like I do with my kids that are baby steps to bigger projects or through a process, but just something like carrying the cup like this is preparing you for something that possibly one day could be a really crazy, scary moment,
Right. And the reason everything is left over right, sitting, Indian style left over right, because when we get to the rifle range in the sitting position, you're sitting Indian style. And for right hand, most people are right-handed shooters. So you're sitting with the left leg, your left knee is pointing towards the target.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I'm crossing my legs and holding my gun in my head. Yeah. That makes sense.
The front arm, your left arm is going to be resting on that left knee, which is pointing towards the target. So you're going to be up like this.
Yeah. Wow. See, and those are little things that when you see videos, when you talk to people, like I never asked about that little stuff, I guess, I think me being the extremely nosy person that I am, I always ask like the bigger, scarier questions. But what do you think, what was one of the first things that you learned that kind of gave you an eye-opening moment, about watching people and learning about people? What was one of the things that they taught you that you kind of were like, wow, and then like you said, you brought it to your real life?
I guess that wasn't actually until in the military. When after boot camp, and I was actually over at Desert Shield, Desert Storm. Okay. Because we actually had to watch our environment really good there, because we're traveling around the country, and see a vehicle come in, it's like, okay, are they friend or foe? Yeah. And
I don't
going
think
out in town, it's like, okay, are we going to be coming up across somebody that's going to be doing something to us, or are they just going about their own business?
Right. I don't think that I don't think I would be able to function properly in that constantly looking over your shoulder environment. I guess that if I really stopped and I could be honest with myself, if danger came to my front door and I had to do what I had to do to protect my daughter, I think I'd surprise myself at what I have the ability to do. Right. But I am not going to choose to put myself. I am more of the so thankful that there's people like you who are willing to put yourself out there. And when I see folks from the military, or if they're sitting at one of my tables, one of my part-time jobs is a server.
Okay.
But I make sure that they get their discount. I thank them for their service, because I know, and I don't care what they did. If you enter the military, no matter what branch, what position, that's not guaranteed. There's still a possibility that you could go and have to fight for us when you sign that paper. So I know that I am too chicken to be able to do that. Now, like I said, if it came knocking on my front door, that might be another story.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
I don't have it. So I'm just extremely thankful that there's people out there that are willing to go out there and willingly do that for so many people, and what I hope to be a great country for some longer time periods, hopefully better soon. I want to eat fresh vegetables more often, but that's a topic for another day.
And that's another thing we do is, like, in the neighborhood, I'm always middle of the night, I'll just go out front and kind of, stick in the shadows by my house and just watch the street. See if any suspicious activity is going on. Because, it's like, I live in a really good neighborhood, love all my neighbors. I want to protect them from something bad happening to them. So it's just something they teach us.
Now, coming, from the military, if there's anybody here that's listening that's younger, that's kind of been tossing the idea back and forth, do I join, do I not join? Or even if, any advice that you could give to them,
Go Air Force.
Go Air Force.
It's the
One of my
easiest.
best friends went Air Force, and it did change her life. I miss her dearly. We don't see each other much these days, but she went from having made a lot of poor choices in life to joining the Air Force and just completely flipping the switch and changing her entire life around.
Yes,
And it was
it
amazing.
will. The military will give you a sense of discipline and help you focus on when something needs to get done. You'll get it done. You know, you may want to procrastinate, and you will, but you will get the job done quicker than without being in the military usually,
I
and
had a
you
lot
have
of friends
more
from
knowledge on how to complete a task.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I had a lot of friends, and good friends from high school or surrounding areas that I was friends with from like swimming and stuff that joined. Most of the people I know joined the Marines or the Army. I only know
Right.
one friend that joined the Air Force, but a lot of them joined the Marines. And I can tell you that just from entering boot camp to when they'd come home for the first time, the mental growth that you could see in those guys. And I'm not talking about muscles and I'm tough now. I'm talking like
Maturity.
they left a hot mess and come back men, you know?
Yep.
And I was still a child, like looking at these, my same age, but they had grown so much in that little bit of time that like I felt like they were here and I was down here at that point. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's not how it was. Realistically, it just they came back and were grown men and that was
Responsible.
just after boot camp. And to have had some of them go off to fight wars and come back, some came back stronger and some did not.
Yes.
If I'm going to be honest with you, my one buddy says he's seen some stuff, and he's never really talked about it, which is how I know it's bad, right? But he'll just tell you, I've seen things and I've had to do things that no human should have to go through.
Exactly. Been there.
And it keeps him up at night. He's got the PTSD real bad. I mean, so much so he can't even go to fireworks without getting triggered and stuff like that, from the noise, but he's gotten better over the last decade or so. His now wife has really helped him grow, but there's things that she's got to be careful of because of his PTSD, like he can wake up and I mean, it's just, it really is crazy, you guys. And I say this stuff and I tell you this stuff because a lot of you guys don't understand what comes with this job and the extra stuff, like the PTSD, the fact that you lose time with your family and you can't stop it. I've never been in, I've just, like I said, I have a lot of friends and I'm still learning, talking to Peg Leg here, about things that they've had to go and how they start you with baby steps to prepare you for bigger things like sitting left over right, that was to prepare you for shooting. I didn't know that. That wasn't something that I had come up before. So it's I like to learn. I like to know. The more you know, the better off you are.
Yep. Exactly.
And I'm never going to use this knowledge, but it's good to know because the more you know, and when you listen to understand people, it really makes your world and theirs a whole lot better.
So you get one thing, you can never be over prepared. It's better to have something and not need it than to need it and not have it. I mean, that's one thing they could not teach us enough. It's like, well, you have to wait. Well, what do we need cold weather gear for? We're not going, it's going to be a desert we're going into. And that was something big time we learned. That's what we thought. Hitting the beach in Kuwait. It's like, it's a desert. What do I need cold weather gear for? Well, all the oil well fires. We did not see the sun for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Once we moved inland, we did not see the sun for 2 weeks. It was like 50 freaking degrees out there. None of us had cold weather gear. We were freezing our butts off. And it was because we weren't prepared. We didn't bring our cold weather gear. We had it. We just didn't bring it with us.
Yeah.
We're thinking we're going to a desert. Why do we need cold weather gear?
Yeah. I mean, and temperatures can drop, you know, when and that was something I learned camping. It was really hot all day, and at night it got so cold. I wasn't prepared. But that is a completely different scenario from you. But I too learned it in a different manner, you know. I tell people all the time, you know, I like if I have 4 people coming over for dinner, I cook for 6, you know, just in case. You know, God forbid I drop a plate, or God forbid that one burns, or I'm definitely an overachiever, I guess, because of that. You know, I always have to have a little bit more, or I have to be one step ahead, or
There ain't nothing wrong with
that's a bad thing for me.
Nothing wrong with being over prepared.
So if you, I like to ask everybody, could go back and tell your younger self anything, what would it be?
Join the Air Force, not the Marines.
And why would you say join the Air Force?
No, I mean,
or rather just any military. What, you know, like if I was like, why am I going to join the military? What would you say to that?
It will definitely give you a sense of maturity, growth, the experience, the travel, job security, benefits. You know, if you become a life, you know, staying for your 20 years, the retirement is great.
There you go. All right. Well, it's 10:31 already. Is there anything else you wanted to add to our discussion, our topic here? Or I have a couple other questions for you before I let you go, though.
No, just thank you for having me on your show.
Of course. So tell these guys, when do you stream? What are your streams like? And do you have any other shows or events that you're on?
Okay. Usually I try to stream like around, about noon Eastern. Noon Eastern, and for a couple hours, and we just talk. I'll play. I just recently just started playing music in my stream for background, but I will, you can request songs, but just good vibes. We just want to talk, get to know everybody. On Saturdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, I am trying to do a show, Military Talk with Peg Leg, where the dependents and veterans come on and talk about their experience within the military.
Nice.
And also I am Groovy Beach's assistant admin, and I try to get, she has a featured show Friday nights at midnight, the Groovy Game Show.
It's a fun show. I just work.
I'm sorry?
I said I like her show, and I sometimes am able to catch like the second half of it, but unfortunately I work Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, so it's hard for me.
Right.
To get in
but
her
it's
show,
a great show. It's a lot of fun. So if anybody wants to get on it, I have my link to Instagram on my profile. You can follow me on Instagram and let me know you want to be on the show, and we can try and get you on there sometime.
Sounds good. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for being on my show today and teaching me some things about the military life. I appreciate you, and I will definitely come check you out soon.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on the show. It's been fun.
Yes, thank you. What is wrong with people? I don't even have words. Anyways. Oh my God. All right. So this is the Q&Q. We'll do this part for just a couple minutes. Papa Bear, I'll have you get in here in a few minutes. I'm just going to run over a couple self-care, self-love tips, not Q&Q. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Lessons Learned. My name is Silly Lily. We meet here every Friday from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we talk about life lessons. Anything life has taught my guests and they're willing to share with us, it is perfect for me. We're all going through something in life, right, guys? Like, it's nice to know that there's people who are willing to talk about things that they've been through, so we can learn from them, as well as know that if something was rough or hard in my life, if I talk about it, for all I know, Sir Diesel down here could be going through the same thing right now, and he sees that I've come out on the other side of it. It could give him power or strength. But guys, you also have to understand that not me, but I do too, but myself and my guests have to make themselves a little bit vulnerable with a lot of topics that they pick, because they have to share something that wasn't super awesome in their life, because, that's how you learn lessons, by making mistakes. So that is why we run a tight ship, and you can see the people who have anything negative to say, or who are rude or just gross, are immediately removed from my stream. And guys, if I didn't say hello to you or I haven't acknowledged you, please understand. I thank you very much for being here. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the favorites. But more importantly, thank you for time, because I know that time is the one thing you can't get back. And I am sorry, I am drinking a lot of tea, and I got my cough drop, and I'm trying really hard not to lose my voice. So, that being said, make sure you guys are drinking your H2O water. Drink your water. I did hot green tea with honey, because my throat hurts. I feel like I sound like a dude this morning, but with some Delsum and Excedrin and cough drops and tea with honey and water, we're trying to make it work. I personally, I don't like beer. Beer is gross. It's gross. So instead of beer, drink water. Water. I don't think a lot of you guys understand how important just drinking, a few bottles of water every day are. I am not Stone Cold Steve Austin. What's he smashing? Coors Light, wasn't it? Completely off topic. Bring that back up at 11. I will totally go down the WWE path of the 90s with you. Look, I can do tequila and shoot fireball. I just can't. Again, after 11, back on track. Drink your water. Drinking water. Make sure that you are getting outside. And if you live where it's really cold and you don't believe in tanning beds, make sure you're getting your vitamin D, but make sure that you are supplementing it with the K2 so that your body actually absorbs more of the vitamin D. I did start taking those a few days ago, maybe 5 days ago now. And I'm telling you that I can honestly, I kind of felt it, but now that it's been consistently in my body, I feel so much better. I do. But I knew that I needed it, but I procrastinate every year. Like, I forget about it. Thank you, guys. And then one day I'm like, oh yeah, I need to get more of the vitamins. I'll feel better after that. And I do. So if some of you guys are up north, you're feeling a little groggy because you're not getting outside and the sunshine's not hitting your face, vitamin D. I'm telling you guys, it's for some, I'm not saying it's going to help everybody, but for your average folks in the wintertime, if you're feeling down and out, you're probably low on sunshine. Right? Oh God, I don't even want to give you the next tip because it's something I've been lacking on, and I feel like I got to say it out loud so that maybe I can hold myself somewhat accountable. I need to start getting more active again, exercising a little bit more, strengthening my body back up to where it was, because I've been feeling kind of lately. And I know damn well that if I got down there to try to do a push-up right now, it ain't going to happen. But that being said, Those are my 2 tips. Drink water and get your butt moving, okay? Do something. And I got to start eating better too. But I'm sorry, the produce in the wintertime up here tastes like crap. It's awful. Like, I'm going to be doing some serious canning this year. Because I can't eat this crap on the shelves at this time of year up here in Ohio. It's all tastes like cardboard and gross blech. And it lasts for like 2 days in my fridge when I do buy it. So, all right, Papa Bear, you ready? If you guys are just tuning in, my name is Silly Lily, and we meet here every Friday, and we now have Papa Bear in box. So, Papa Bear, how are you?
It's every time I come and do your show, I say, this is the last time I'm waking up this early for a show, and then I come back and do your show again. But,
I love your face for it.
But out of Peg Leg, solidarity with Peg Leg, I went and put on my red hoodie.
Oh, nice.
Of course, mine is a bear hoodie, not, but we are who we are.
Yes.
Every time I do your show, I went to bed early last night. I took, my evening supplements and everything. And I'm like, okay. And I lay down, I fell asleep. About a half an hour, I wake up and it's like, I feel awake now. Why do I feel awake? I got a show tomorrow. I got to go back to sleep. And then I'm up for a little bit, and I'm up for a bit, and I'm up for a bit. And all of a sudden, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. It's like, I got a show in 7 hours. But yeah, we're here. That's
me every night. Like, I got to be up in 5 hours, go to bed. I got to be up in 4 hours. Why are you still awake?
Yep. Fun. So I'm having my green tea. Yeah.
Nice.
With agave, because agave is a little lower glycemic index than honey. So, and natural. Yeah.
I just did the honey because my throat hurts.
No, I get it, honey. Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't care if I throw sugar or whatever, but honey definitely helps the sore throat.
It does. And that's when you said you had the sore throat, I was like, oh, honey. Oh, thank you. And I was like, yeah. Well, I'm disappointed. I work at a candy store and a soda store, which is funny because I'm diabetic. And but we have some sugar-free chocolates that we sell in the gourmet chocolate thing, and I was so excited because we had some that weren't selling, and they hit their expiration date, which means they're still good. We just can't sell them.
Right.
I was like, I'm excited because that's like 10 pounds of chocolate that's sugar-free. But then I looked at the ingredients, and the first ingredient is maltitol syrup, which is an artificial or whatever sort of sweetener, but its glycemic index and calorie load is almost the same as sugar.
Mm-hmm.
So it does nothing for a diabetic.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's worse for a diabetic in a lot of ways because you're like, oh, hey, sugar-free, I can have this. So I'm like, that's 10 pounds of sugar or chocolates that I thought I was going to be able to eat over the next several months in my freezer that I'm going to have to toss.
Yeah, I tried to explain that to my grandmother and to my mother that just because it says sugar-free doesn't mean a diabetic should eat it.
Yep, there are certain ones that are. Yep, there are certain ones that are legit for diabetics, and but.
Well, okay, but my problem is she's like, well, I bought her sugar-free cookies, and I go, how many carbs are in the cookies? This is well, blah blah blah. Let's just say 20. Keep it an even lower number. 20. Okay, that's 10 grams of sugar, Ma. Yep. But there's no sugar, Mom. Carbs break down to sugar.
Yes.
So exactly. If you're eating bread or pretzels or potato chips or anything with carbs, it's breaking down to sugar.
But one thing I found, and we will eventually get into what I was going to talk about is, like, for example, toast, bread. White bread is the worst. It's got the highest glycemic index. But if you freeze it, the glycemic index goes down. And if you toast it after freezing it, the GI goes even lower. So there are ways, like if you have whole wheat bread, that's better than white bread. But if you freeze it and then toast it, it lowers the glycemic index.
Freezing all my bread, it'll last longer.
Well, that too. But I don't.
We never get through a whole loaf before it goes bad here.
Hey, Well, we do Food for Life's Ezekiel bread, which is from sprouted grains, and so the glycemic index is way lower than any other bread. So sprouted grain breads, because it's not coming from flours, so it's not ground up flour, it's sprouted grains, which is better for you. So
Right.
there you go. So what did I say we we're going to talk about? Oh yeah, seeing the positive, assuming the best.
Yes. What made you
Yeah.
pick that topic? I'm still right here. I'll be right back on screen in 10 seconds. So
Sure
just
thing.
talk. I'm listening. I promise.
Okay, now that she's gone, what I'm really gonna
Hey.
so what had me think it's just an ongoing lesson that I've had to practice. I've got a really good friend out in the Philippines, and I, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. And early on, I would always assume the worst. I'd overthink, which is part of the problem too. And I'd be like, oh, she hasn't responded to my text. I haven't, blah, blah, blah. I haven't. And I would get really annoyed or upset. And then it was like, I don't know what's going on over there. Maybe I should just relax and wait to see what's going on before I get annoyed. And so it's just been an ongoing practice. When I find myself getting annoyed with someone or upset with someone, taking a moment and saying, okay, I'm upset because I think what's going on is this, that they did it because X, Y, Z. And they're almost always going to be, if you're annoyed, when you think about the reason for what they did that annoyed you, it's going to be a negative thing usually. But if you take a moment and go, okay, maybe it's not. What if it's something else? What if there's a different reason for what they did? Then having that different reason for what they did changes our emotional response to it.
Yeah.
And there's an expression that worry is like interest on a debt you may not owe. And thank you. Cheers. And that meant, it struck me. It actually struck me so much I put it into one of my songs, is that idea of worries like interest that you're paying on a debt you may not owe. Until you know one way or the other, assume the best, because why not? It takes as much energy to assume the best as it does the worst. Maybe a little more energy, because assuming the worst comes naturally to a lot of us, because that's kind of the culture we live in sometimes. But and then what I was thinking about too, and it came up in my brain too when Peg Leg was talking, is like all the preparedness, like it's different. Being prepared is different than worrying. Because having raised an autistic child, every road trip was, a lesson in planning. It's like when he talked about going on maneuvers and stuff, I was like, oh my God, it felt like it wasn't. I'm not equating the two. But as a parent of an autistic child, it's like, okay, do I have enough sippy cups? Do I have enough of this? Do we have all the things we need for this trip?
Yeah.
Because if we don't, the consequences are not going to be fun for anybody.
Right.
So, there's a difference between being prepared and overthinking things and worrying too much.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to think the worst first too.
It's a normal response.
I've been practicing, but I also have noticed that since I've just been doing my best at things, and I tend not to make as many errors or screw ups or whatever, that I've become more confident with some things, but there's still, if I was to be dating somebody and they were like, yeah, I'll call you at 9, by 10 o'clock, if they haven't called me, I've already thought that they've done one of two things. They've either been in a horrific accident and they're no longer with us, or they're cheating, whereas in reality, they got stuck at work and their phone died. Yeah. And as soon as they got to the car and the charge, they call. You know what I mean? But literally in that short period of time, I can take anything and make it the worst.
Oh, totally. I mean, totally. And one of the things I am deeply indebted in the one thing I'm deeply indebted with my best friend, she knows that I overthink, and she knows that I am working on not overthinking so much. So she actually at one point didn't respond to text for like 2 days. And I'm like, what the heck? Ah. And I start to get like, but and I went, okay, I don't know. Maybe she's tired, overworked. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she lost her phone. Maybe her phone was stolen. And I kept having to go to best case scenario during those 2 days. And finally, she reaches out after a couple of days. She goes, "Oh, hi," and I'm like, "Hi," and she's like, "So, I want to tell you something." I said, "Okay." She goes, "I didn't respond on purpose." And I went, "What?" And she goes, "Well, I know you worry about, that you overthink a lot and you're trying to work on it. So I just wanted to give you some practice at not overthinking." And anybody else saying to me, I would have been like, "What the?" But she's such a dear friend that it was like, wow, I got that it was actually a gift that she gave me a chance to practice not overthinking. Yeah, I get it, Diesel, except for I know this person and I trust this person.
Right.
And so because I know that person, I trust that person, even though I wanted to go to the dark side with my thoughts, it's like, but I know her and I trust her. So she wouldn't do it she might do it intentionally, but she wouldn't do it to be mean. That's not who she is. It's a tough one.
See, for me, I think that if you know that drives me nuts, I personally would see it the complete opposite way that you do.
But the difference is, it drives.
Like if Boot purposely ignored me for 2 days to teach me a lesson,
even though that
I wouldn't have
lessons learned.
You're probably just a bigger person than me, which is why we're having this talk, and I'm admitting some stuff about me out loud I probably shouldn't. But I don't think that I would be as forgiving.
The difference is she didn't do something she knew bugged me. She did something that bugged me, but she knew I wanted to work on getting better at.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest difference, was like, if it had been somebody else and we had not talked about my tendency to overthink and that I'm actually working on trying to be better at not overthinking and blah, blah, blah. If it had been somebody else we didn't have that backstory going on, that I've told them I want to get better at not overthinking, and somebody else would have done it, yeah, I would have been, that would have been like, I don't need you in my life. I don't need someone to just decide that I need a lesson. And she didn't just decide I need a lesson. I told her that was a lesson I was working on.
Right.
And so, for me, it was such a beautiful gift. And she's done other gifts like that too, where she's just been like I do a PTSD from the childhood essay. And one time I had a flashback, and it tripped me out because I hadn't had one for a long time. And I just went straight to pity and victim. And it's like, oh my God, I'm just like, oh, I hate PTSD. I hate this. My life sucks. And she just wouldn't talk to me for a few days. And then when she finally did talk to me, she's like, I said, you don't understand. I needed, you're my friend and I want to talk to you. She goes, I don't understand. I get that this bad thing happened. But the question is, she goes, why don't you just fight? I was like, but you don't understand. Okay, wait a minute. Let me listen to what she's saying. Why don't I just fight? And I got it. At that moment, it was like I was being a total victim to what had happened. And I wasn't practicing my skills. I wasn't doing the things I know help me when I'm in the muck. And her saying, why don't you just fight, was her saying, I know you have it in you to rise up above this. So fight. And then the next time I saw her, or at some point I was doing a song that was triggering me in an open mic, and she, thank you. And she, oops, sorry. And
it's hard.
Yeah, it is. And I was just about to leave the open mic in the middle of a song because it was just that triggering. And just before I left the stream, all wigged out, she showed up to watch the stream. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't leave right now, because my friend who's just reminding me that I should fight has just come into the stream. So I guess I'll fight now. So it's good to surround yourself with people who have your back, who support you, who agree with your goals for yourself and want to support you in meeting those goals.
Yeah.
And
I agree with that.
yeah, and so that's been the challenge has been, can I keep saying, thinking positive and assuming the best about people?
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
It's definitely something that I have to continue to practice, because I mean, I even go worse than on my stuff, like if I'm trying to do something and I know I have the ability to do this or that, but I've already convinced myself that I can't do it again, knowing I've already done it. So that's where, and I tell people all the time, and when I start doing it, I tell myself, negativity breeds negativity, positivity breeds positivity, quit being a negative, bitch, because it ain't gonna get you nowhere.
Yep. And we've talked about that. I think I did this actually one of the last times I was on your stream with the tuning forks, where what we radiate, we attract. So if you're in this, oh, poor me victim, you're going to attract either more stuff that has you be a victim, or more people who are going to support your victimhood, as opposed to, I can overcome this. Yes, this bad thing happened, and I've learned skills and tools to take care of myself. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to attract more people who want to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. Oh, I got to share one thing before we go, though, is so my mom passed last October, and then it's so funny because I got the flu right before she died, and I hadn't wanted to go to the funeral just because, well, what happened to me involved the Catholic Church I grew up in, and that's where the funeral was going to be. And it was like, I went to my dad's in that space, and it really messed me up. And I wasn't going to go to my mom's for the same reason. And she was like, "Oh, but I was expecting." I finally said, "Okay, I'll come and do the eulogy of my sister, like we did for Dad." And then a week before her funeral, I get the flu, and I'm morning of the funeral. I'm just like, I'm starting to feel better. I could come for the eulogy if you guys want me. Like, you're sick, you're contagious, a lot of old people, don't come. I'm like, okay. So like that, God gave me a get out of going to a church card that day. But then I got COVID, and so it's been rough. But what I did is, when she passed, there was a certain amount of inheritance, and I took part of that, and I bought what I'm calling my mom's last Christmas present to myself, which is a really beautiful blue purple. If you catch it in the right light, it's also purple. Carbon fiber guitar, and it's my most expensive guitar to date. And it's, again, she would have appreciated me buying this, and so I love sharing this, that even after we lose someone, their influence in our life isn't gone.
For sure. My papa, we lost him November of 2000, and he still pops up in my daily life. Like, I was Uma asked yesterday, if you could go back in time, to what year would you go and why? And I said 1990.